Okay, well, welcome to today's session. Let's start off by asking you a question. If you could use the chat box, go ahead and tell me, would you mind telling me, out of all the places you've ever been on vacation, what was your favorite? The favorite place that you went to on vacation? Go ahead and chat. There are two boxes. There's a Q&A box and a chat box. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to try to monitor the chat box for this interactive session. So we've got Acadia National Park and African Safari. Very cool. Paris, cruising the Caribbean, Hawaii, Nice, London. Good. Los Angeles, California, Grand Canyon, Nantucket. Okay, great. So if you would, please tell me, what are some specific things that you really enjoyed about the Isle of Wight or Vermont or Sydney or the Grand Canyon or Paris or Nice, the safari? Specific things, did you really enjoy about that particular destination? I'm looking at the chat box. There's a chat and a Q&A, if you would. Okay, so the variety of activities and the charm, food, people, their accents. Yeah, the accent. Warm weather and sunshine. That's good this time of year, depending where you are. Beach. Okay, different cultures, seeing things you've never seen before. Intimate settings. Doing nothing. Okay, great. Food, relaxed atmosphere, history. Great. So continuing on with that, you listed the food first. A number of you did. You listed food first, which is always top of my list. So if you clearly you either enjoyed that the most or for whatever reason you listed it first. Why was that important to you? Why is it food? Why is it that food came to mind first? For those who answered food. And that's nearing right. It's a social event. Everyone loves food. It's comforting. Okay, great. Good. So food is very sensual, new taste, freshness. It stretches the brain. Okay, good. Well, thank you very much for playing with me here. But what I wanted to do was open up with some questions. And by opening up with the questions that I did, what did you, think about, what did you learn or what did you hear about our conversation? Now, if I would have chosen one of you to have this with, but notice about how I questioned you about your vacations, that this is one of many questioning techniques that we are going to use today. It's called the 3-level technique, or the rule of 3. And it's one of the techniques we're going to cover today to help you build your own questioning skills. Yeah, okay, good. So this conversation helped you take away barriers. It also allowed us to learn a lot more about your vacation than, oh, you're just back from vacation, that's nice, and then moving on immediately to your meeting, right? Yeah, it was progressively more detailed, built on prior questions. That's great. Good observation. Thank you, Shara. So unfortunately, what I find today is that too often we go on to autopilot when it comes to our questions. We ask, oh, how are you doing today? We don't listen to the answer. A lot of times we don't even really care. It's just we don't listen, and then we're just interested in getting to the real point of our conversation, which is beyond that question. And I'll give you a perfect example. I waited tables through college. That's how I paid for college and got out without student loans. And as I was waiting on tables, I was really good. Every time somebody ordered coffee, I would always ask, do you want cream with that? Because sugar's on the table. But do I need to bring out the little creamers, right? I always ask the question. However, after about the third table of the day, I would go in the back, I'd be preparing all their drinks, and I would have gone on to autopilot, and I couldn't remember the answer. So inevitably, I always had to bring out the creamers and then put them on the table and say, did you say you wanted this? I'm sorry, I already forgot. But that's, getting off of autopilot is the first step, right? That's what we want to do. And we're going to talk about a lot of different types of questions in this session. So our goal here is to provide you with the useful and practical tips, tricks, and tools that you can start using immediately today to help elevate your conversations, to enhance or improve your questioning skills. And we do have a handout with this session. You can see the URL there if you'd like to download that handout. There's a handout and an ebook. The ebook explains in more detail. The handout is just 2 pages. which summarizes what I'm going to present to you today. So you won't need a copy of the slides. It's all in the handout. Let's get started. We got a lot to cover, so let's get started. So our focus today is to, have some fun. That's the first focus, right? But the focus is to overcome or to first discover what are the barriers to questioning and to overcome those. And to talk quickly about what are the benefits of questions, the questions that you can ask in and out of work, personally and professionally. What different question types are there? When do we use each kind? And I will actually walk through scenarios and examples to show you how to apply these and use them. And then know the difference between empowering and disempowering questions, because, these can have a very positive impact on your relationships, or they can break them down. So, and the title is appropriate. Is your question a request? Is it a weapon? Is it, are you really trying to explore? So will it build or will it break down your relationship? So, let's play. So let's brainstorm some possible answers to what are the barriers to asking questions? Why don't we ask more questions? Why don't we ask better questions? The barriers to asking questions. Go ahead and chat it in. You're afraid to get too personal. That's a good one. That's a good one. What other barriers are there? You're more interested in telling. You don't want to ask. You want to tell your own viewpoint. That's great. I love that. Time, sorry to say. Absolutely. We are all short on time, right? We're very busy. You don't know what you don't know, so you don't maybe even know what to ask, how to ask it. You're afraid you may offend. You're afraid of looking foolish. Yeah, you're afraid it may be a dumb question. Answer. Yeah, you really don't want to hear the answer. Okay, good. There's a number of reasons why we don't ask good questions or more questions, better questions. Lack of understanding or problem definition. Okay, good. Yeah, bias, challenging, you don't want to be seen as challenging authority, so great. So we have these, a lot of the barriers that you all highlighted and brought up could fall into these main categories. You start with fear. What are some of the, we have fear of appearing dumb. We don't want to look stupid. We may be intimidated by the audience. We may not want to annoy. A lot of times we have this ego. We come in with a certain ego, and we don't want that questioned or minimized in any way. We don't want that jeopardized. Technology. I don't want to ask questions via email because they won't respond, and then I'll be really embarrassed. Or you don't have the opportunity to work face-to-face, and you don't know how to do it using technology. The communication, it's too short. We don't have the time. Your environment, your workplace doesn't encourage questions, or your family is not supportive of asking questions, or it's frowned upon, in your groups. And going back to we're busy. We just don't have time to ask nor to answer questions. People may get annoyed about it. Now, many of these barriers are self-imposed. We're conditioned more and more now to have shorter conversations. We're shortening our emails, our conversations. We're being influenced by Twitter. We want to put everything into a 140-character message. Some we can do that certainly very well. Sometimes we cannot. We're short on patience. We feel rushed. We always have the next thing we need to get to. So either consciously or subconsciously, we're discouraging others from asking questions, or we may be hesitant to ask those questions ourselves. I mean, opening up this session by asking you about your vacations is kind of putting myself out there. If you didn't chat back, I would feel pretty foolish. So, thank you for that. But we wanted to get that, to